Fantasy football tight end tier list. We're going to go about 5 tiers deep, which is about 12 tight ends, which is shorter than my previous videos of 24 or 28 running backs, I believe it was. We'll do a lot more receivers as well. That is next week. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the wide receiver tier list video. But as far as today, we're going with the tight ends, and we're going to get right into it. We're starting off with our number 1 tier, the elite tier, whatever you want to call it, S tier. We have Brock Bowers and Trey McBride. As we get closer to the season, I'm going to go ahead and start giving out where I'm ranking these guys. They're not official. Obviously, we're still in June, early June. It's currently June 9th as I'm filming this. This video will probably be out on Friday, which is, the 12th. So, obviously, there's a lot of time for things to change from now up until August, late August, when we're actually drafting our fantasy football teams. One disclaimer for me to make is that I do not have George Kittle on here yet because I just don't know how healthy he is and when he's going to play. If he's going to play, I would assume he's going to play at some point this season, but when that's going to happen, I don't know yet. There's not enough information for me out there. So as of right now, I'm just not putting him on the list. By August, he'll be on there somewhere, but right here, right now, just don't got him. Okay, so again, we're starting off with our number 1 tier, which is Brock Bowers and Trey McBride. Right now, I have it as Brock Bowers 1, Trey McBride 2, and I'll just get into that a little bit because the tier itself is obvious, I think. Brock Bowers, when playing last year and healthy, was amazing, up there with Trey McBride. The thing that really changes for Brock Bowers this year is that he gets Kirk Cousins or Fernando Mendoza as his quarterback, which I think either way is an upgrade. Kirk Cousins loves to throw to his tight ends. Fernando Mendoza, who's going to be his rookie go-to target? Brock Bowers. I think no matter what, he leads this team in targets this season, no matter who starts and for how long they start. He is going to lead this team in targets and receptions and maybe even touchdowns and yards and everything else. I really love Brock Bowers this year. I also think the offense is going to be better than it was last year and than Arizona's offense. They're going to get Clint Kubiak, who just won the Super Bowl, being the offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks. Again, you're getting a quarterback upgrade, and then you also have a good running game. I just think this offense compared to Arizona's is going to be much better, much more room for touchdowns, and that is why I give him the edge. I kind of said it in a way that made it seem like there was a gap between McBride and Bowers, and there's not a gap. It's 1A, 1B. Either way, I just lean Bowers over McBride for the reasons that I've said. All right, let's go ahead and jump to tier 2. I don't want to spend too much time on that one. So we'll jump to tier 2, which I have as Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland in that order. The reason for that is I think Tyler Warren is going to be the offense, at least through the air, for the Colts. I think there's a realistic possibility he leads the Colts in receptions. I don't think he'll do it in yards because the deep threat that Alec Pierce is, he doesn't have to get a ton of receptions to get a ton of yards, but I do think he actually ends up leading this team in receptions. There's a lot to be made about Michael Pittman getting traded. I took that personally as more of that short to intermediate route stuff is going to fall on Trey McBride rather than Alec Pierce or Josh Downs. I do think they get bumps. I don't think all of that obviously is going to Tyler Warren, but I think that the majority of it, I think Warren, what I'm trying to say is I think Warren is why they were comfortable getting rid of Pittman. I think they're comfortable with Warren filling in that role, and so that's what I think happens. And that is why I have him slightly. Again, this is tiers. So the first two, they're in a tier together. There's a tier gap in my opinion. And then these two, and they're in a tier together. It's super close. I just think he's going to end up being the number 1 option for this team, which is why I have Warren above Loveland. Now, let's be clear. I think Loveland is due for a huge season as well. Look at the second half of last season. Even look into the playoffs of last season. I think you could also very fairly make the argument for Loveland and that his offense will be better. So even if he's not the number 1 option, like maybe the number 2 option on Chicago is going to be better than the number 1 option on Indianapolis. I think you could also make the argument that it's safer due to when Daniel Jones got injured last year. Tyler Warren slipped, not drastically. It wasn't horrible, but he definitely slipped. So I think it's safer to say that Colson Loveland has less to deal with as far as losing his quarterback. Daniel Jones has had some injuries in the past, and then he's also coming off an Achilles and ACL. Like, just brutal, crazy injuries that I can't believe he's already back from and at practice and throwing. That blew my mind seeing that stuff. So I also wonder if Tyler, or if Daniel Jones, I don't think he's going to be the same guy he was last year. A lot of what he did last year was with his legs, and he's not going to be able to do that this year. I worry about the Colts a lot, honestly. The thing that makes me so confident in Tyler Warren as opposed to the rest of their offense is that I think they're just going to throw him the ball every chance they get. That is the major difference. So I think he's just going to far and away lead this team in targets, and that's why I feel so comfortable with Warren over Loveland. But again, if you want to go opposite, that's totally fine by me. I would 1,000% understand that. All right, let's go into Tier B, or Tier 3, I should say, which is Harold Fannin and Tucker Kraft. Honestly, I think I would have them swapped if Tucker Kraft wasn't coming off an ACL injury. Since he is, of course, I'm going to keep him like this. Quickly, we haven't been talking about ADP, so I do want to go through the ADPs real quick. Brock Bowers has an ADP of pick 25, tight end 22. What the heck? Tight end 2. And this is in sleeper that I'm naming real quick. McBride has a pick 16, tight end 1. Warren, pick 45, tight end 4. I think I have a typo for Colson Loveland because I have pick 53, tight end 3. That doesn't make sense that he's going to be a tight end above Warren, but then picked under him. So I think that's supposed to be pick 43, tight end 3. And then we get to the guys we're talking about right now. Harold Fannin, pick 64, tight end 5. And Tucker Kraft, pick 70, tight end 6. So with this tier, I'm right in consensus with the rest of them. The only difference is I wouldn't draft him here. Something about me and how I draft. If I don't get one of the top 2 guys, which is Bowers or McBride, I'm punting on the position. This year is a little different. This year is the first time that I believe other tight ends that's not Bowers or McBride or in previous seasons would have been Travis Kelce actually has a chance and a ceiling of elite tier, of tier 1. Again, Bowers and McBride are, to me, can't miss top tier tight ends. And then Warren and Loveland have a chance to pop off and get into that elite tier, so I'm willing to take them. Harold Fannin, Tucker Kraft, with where they are going, pick 64, pick 70 in Sleeper, pick 80, pick 64 in Yahoo. I'm not taking these guys most likely. And it's just the way the draft falls. In these picks, I like to take my chances on receivers or running backs. I don't like to draft the tight end position here, especially for marginal increases. Of the two, I think I would maybe be more likely to take Kraft here, even though currently, and I might switch this after having this opinion, currently I have Tucker Kraft below Fannin, but I do think that Kraft has a higher chance, a higher ceiling, I should say. But he's coming off that ACL injury, which is why originally, and right here, right now, I have him as my 6th tight end, as opposed to Fannin as my 5th tight end. Let's get into it a little more. Harold Fannin is going to be similar to McBride. He's going to be the number 1 receiving option, in my opinion, just on a bad team. The only difference is Warren and the Colts, I have a lot of questions. Are they going to be a bad team? If this happens, they might be a bad team. But if that doesn't happen, they could be a good team. And by team, I'm meaning offense right here. There's a lot of things and the factors that contribute to this, whereas the Browns, I think, are just going to be a bad offense. I don't really think it matters. Unless Deshaun Watson can turn back the clock, I don't think it matters. I think they're going to be a bad offense. But Fannin is going to run the bad offense, and he's going to get all the targets and receptions and all that good stuff. So especially if you're in a PPR, I do think Fannin would probably fall in that 5 spot over Tucker Kraft. The thing about Tucker Kraft, though, is that I could see him leading his offense, too. It's crazy. I don't believe in Christian Watson the same way everyone else does. You'll see that when I do my wide receiver tiers. I just don't believe in him the same way everyone else does. I don't think that he's going to stay healthy, first of all. And then when he does stay healthy, he doesn't really give off number one wide receiver to me. He gives off deep threat for sure, and a really good one at that. I just don't know if he can handle the workload of being the number one wideout on a team. I almost think, like I said, Tucker Kraft might outcatch him and have more receptions than him. So again, I guess that's why I would feel more confident if I had to take one of these tight ends. And in this range where I don't like drafting tight ends, if I had to take one, I would probably pick Kraft over Fanon just for touchdowns. They're going to score more of them in Green Bay. And it's going to be a better offense that I think he could lead in, just like Fanon could. So in real time, I'm actually changing my own opinion about that. So again, though, I don't really like drafting in this position as far as tight ends go. I don't really like drafting tight ends in this position. If I don't get one in this year's draft, if I don't get one of the top 4, I'm probably punting on the position. But let's keep going anyway, because there are situations where you still draft tight ends even if you don't want to. All the guys you want are gone. Maybe you took 4 wide receivers already. You need a running back, but it's way too early to take the next running back on the board, so you'll take a tight end. Something along those lines. I'd also prefer if that was swapped. You took like 4 running backs and then need a receiver. Receivers are much easier to come by. I've done a couple mock drafts. I think starting next week, starting next week I'll be filming myself do mock drafts, and we can do mock drafts together. So starting next week I'll be doing mock drafts, and you'll see it is so much easier to come by a good wide receiver later in the draft than a running back. And that's always the case, but I feel like it's especially the case this year. I really don't like the running backs pass around like 6 or 7. It just gets gross. Anyway, let's stop stalling, I guess is what I'm doing here. Let's go on to tier 4, which is Kyle Pitts, Travis Kelce, Dalton Kincaid, and Sam Laporta. Kyle Pitts, look at his numbers from last year. It sounds like a gross pick. It's almost like a Quentin Johnston. No one wants to take Quentin Johnston because of all the times he screwed us over. But you look at where he's going. I believe Quentin Johnston's going as like wide receiver like 45 or something. Like, come on. The last 2 years has shown he's much better than that. Same thing with Kyle Pitts, although I must say this year is finally changing. Currently going as the number 7 tight end in Sleeper and the number 8 tight end in Yahoo. He's finally getting some respect. I have him as my tight end 7. Again, I'm probably never taking him because I'm probably never drafting in this range here. I'm never drafting a tight end in this range here. But someone's got to catch this ball other than Drake London. Atlanta has Drake London and Bijan Robinson, and that's pretty much it. There has to be a second or maybe a third, maybe Bijan second in receptions this year. There still has to be a third guy. I think that guy's going to be Kyle Pitts. The fear is, though, he looked better with Kirk Cousins than he did with Michael Penix. Maybe he looks better with Tua than he does with Michael Penix. Hard to say. If Michael Penix is the starter, I probably lose a little steam on Kyle Pitts, but if Tua is the starter, then I leave him right here for sure. He's solid. He's going to be serviceable, especially in the PPR league. He's not going to score a bunch of touchdowns, but he'll get, I think in this offense specifically, he'll get a ton of catches, and he will be a serviceable tight end, a week-to-week start where you're not really stressing about the position. You can leave him in there and feel comfortable. That's what I think Kyle Pitts is going to be this year. Travis Kelce, I think, is getting severely underrated now. Is that insane to say? And Yahoo's going as the tight end 11. In Sleeper, he's going as the tight end 19. Did something happen? I understand he's another year older, but even last year, he's not Travis Kelce great anymore, but he was like tight end 5. Like, did something happen to him that I didn't see? I don't understand how he's fallen this far, especially in this Kansas City offense where, I mean, look, Rashee Rice is freaking one drive away from getting arrested. He's going to do something to screw himself up, be arrested again. I don't really understand why he's this low. And even with Rashee Rice there, as far as targets and receptions go, he's still probably second on this team behind Xavier Worthy, maybe second above him, maybe third behind Xavier Worthy. Either way, like, as far as a mid-tier tight end goes, at this point, that's what Travis is. I get he's not what he used to be, but to go as tight end 19, and I expect to see that change. I expect by the time I'm updating these, which is going to be late June, I will go through and update all these ADPs, and then as we get to July, I'll update it a couple more times, and then in August, I'll be updating weekly. If you do have this draft guide, which I didn't mention yet, I will have a draft guide out. I don't fully know how it's going to be presented yet, but I do have a draft guide coming. If you want to see it, make sure to drop a comment, DM me. Just let me know what you want from it. That way I can try my best to add it. Anyway, I forgot what I was talking about, but when I edit these ADPs in this draft guide, I assume Travis Kelce will be a steady climber and he will not be the 19th tight end to be drafted. That's insane, but that's where he is right now. So if that stays that way, I will be drafting a ton of Travis Kelce because I have him as my tight end 8. So yeah, I will be drafting a ton of him if it stays that way. Dalton Kincaid, I actually think, has really solid potential, but the problem is he's always had that solid potential. I just think we see this Buffalo Bills offense have a slight uptick in passing. I am a little worried about that, though, because apparently DJ Moore is struggling with the playbook and grasping the offense. If that continues and those reports keep up, then I wonder if they're going to uptick at all. I will have to change some running back things because I made James Cook drop a little bit because of that thought. We're very fluid here, and as we get to August, it will be more and more firm. But right now, I'm starting to get worried if DJ Moore, the guy they brought in for a lot, isn't what they thought he was going into the season, then I have to change my expectations for this offense. The theory was they're going to have an uptick in passing, not a ton, but at least a little bit, and then I think Dalton Kincaid would benefit from that, and then he could maybe turn into what everyone was thinking he would be, which is Josh Allen's Travis Kelce. And be clear, like, I have him as my tight end 9. I'm not predicting that. I just think that is on the table. That is a possibility. I don't think it happens necessarily. Just think it is on the table. But his upside is why I do have him as tight end 9. Unlike Kyle Pitts, though, he's somebody that you do have to worry about week to week. You're worried. You don't know if you can just trust him. Everyone up to this point, I feel like you could just trust, including the guy I'm about to name, which is Sam Laporta. I think you could just trust Sam Laporta to give you average stats. That's the thing at this point, is I don't think he has that ceiling that he once had and once was. I think the offense just pivoted in a different direction. Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland, all of them have just elevated. So I just don't think Sam Laporta is quite the ceiling he used to, but I also think he has a extremely high floor, and therefore I think he is a guy that you can just put in your lineup and sit and stay. Currently, with what I've been hearing out of training camp, I would probably swap Laporta and Kincaid. I have Kincaid at 9, Laporta at 10. I'd probably swap them right here, right now. In fact, I'm going to. Right after this video, I'm going to swap those two just to feel more comfortable. But let's go ahead and get right into tier 5, which is Isaiah Likely, Hunter Henry, and Gadsden. I don't know how to say his first name. I think we get 2 of them are similar, and then Hunter Henry is Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry has been Hunter Henry his whole life, but also as far as fantasy goes, he's been that way for a long time. You know what you're going to get from him. He's going to be a lower tier starting tight end, but he's going to be a lower tier starting tight end. That's his ceiling. That's his floor. I would say maybe his floor is like a high end tight end 2, but you know what you're going to get from Hunter Henry. He's a safe guy. You don't want to worry about the tight end position. Draft Hunter Henry and you're set. Just leave him in there, and he'll be solid. He'll be fine. I don't really do that. I stream the position weekly. This if I don't get one of the top 4 guys. I stream the position weekly, and so guys you would want for that, or guys that aren't on this tiers, but like a good matchup for a Brenton Strange or a good matchup for like a Jake Ferguson. That's typically how I play the position if I don't get the elite guys. But again, if you don't want that, if you just want put a guy in the position and leave him there, Hunter Henry's your guy. The other two guys that we'll talk about quickly, Isaiah Likely, excuse me. The other two guys that we'll talk about quickly, which is Likely and Gadsden, I think are very similar. I'm kind of losing faith. The more I think about and the more research I do on Likely, I kind of losing faith on him, honestly. I think I had him up in my tier 4 at one point, dropped him in my tier 5. I wouldn't be shocked if I dropped him in my tier 6. Every time he's had a chance to prove something, he just hasn't. Whether it's his fault or not, he just have a great week and then the next week lay dud. Or Mark Andrews is out, he has a chance to really shine and then just doesn't. He's on the field a lot, still doesn't do anything. I'm especially with the connection that Jackson Dart had with Theo Johnson last year. Originally, that I saw that as a positive for Isaiah Likely. Like, oh, if he just does with Isaiah Likely what he did with Theo Johnson, boom. Now I'm kind of concerned, especially with the Malik Neighbors injury. I have to wonder if they're going to run more 2 tight end sets, and if they do, is Theo going to get a lot of the looks? I don't know. Genuine question. I've been talking myself out of Isaiah Likely more and more. But let's just talk about his ceiling. He could be one of the, I don't think elite tight ends, but a top tier tight end 1 in fantasy this year, if everything goes that way. The Malik Neighbors thing might be a pro for him, because maybe now with Malik Neighbors out, he has to be the number 1 receiving option for the New York Giants. I doubt it, but maybe. It is a possibility, and that is why he is here, is because of his upside. And I think the same can be said about Gadsden. I feel like everyone just wanted Gadsden to just take that next leap at the end of last year, and instead he did the opposite. He showed a lot of potential and a lot of good signs, but then just never fully took that next step. Big difference is they now have Mike McDaniel as the offensive coordinator, and with no elite weapons, maybe Gadsden's the guy to go with. You can't help but think, first of all, when Waller played last year, Waller actually had some really good weeks, which I hate that I'm using Darren Waller as a measuring stick here, but it is true. But the guy I really wanted to talk about 2 years ago, Giannu Smith. You saw what he looked like in Mike McDaniel's offense. You got to wonder if Gadsden can do the same thing. He's not quite as athletic as Giannu Smith is, but I do think he's probably, and when I say athletic, I just mean quick, fast. But Gadsden might be the better athlete as far as quick, fast, and size and build. I do think Gadsden has a really good chance to be really good in this offense. I think he has a really high ceiling, but of course his floor we saw at the end of last year. It's doing nothing. So I feel out of the guys I've named so far, I probably feel the most 50-50 about him, but I do think his ceiling is higher than like a Hunter Henry and potentially even than like a Sam Laporta. I just think there's also way more room to fall with him as well. With that said, he is currently going as the tight end 10. Are you taking a chance on him as the tight end 10? Maybe. What is that? Pick 89 in Sleeper? I don't know. That's the thing, though. In Sleeper, he's going as the tight end 10, pick 89. Yahoo, 134, tight end 16. I don't use Yahoo, so that really doesn't help me. I just put that for the people that do use Yahoo. Yeah, man. Gadsden is one of those guys where I'm making the pick. At that spot, at pick 89, I'm making the pick and not feeling good about it. I'm personally probably not making the pick, again, because of how I draft tight ends. But if I do make the pick at pick 90 practically, I'm feeling uneasy knowing you're going into the season with only one tight end. So that is how I feel about Gadsden. And those are my top 5 tiers. Guys just missing out. Tier 6 would have been like a Dallas Goedert and a Brenton Strange. There's just a lot of mouths to feed in Jacksonville. Otherwise, I think I would have had Brenton Strange a little higher. And Dallas Goedert is good when he plays, but he never plays. He's injured all the time. And he has those weeks. Every year he has a week or two where he'll drop almost 40. So lot highs, but also a lot of lows with Dallas Goedert. That would have been the next tier if I wanted to quickly go through them. I don't have a graphic for them, sorry. I mean, I'd probably put everybody else in tier 7. Maybe like a Juwan Johnson, Jake Ferguson, and like a Chega Okonkwo. Maybe you throw Hawkinson and Andrews in there as like a tier 7 and then go to a tier 8. I wouldn't care if you just threw everybody in a tier 7, though. Like, it really doesn't matter after that. Again, George Kittle would have to fall in there somewhere with the injury and everything. It'd probably be tier 4 or 5. I'd say 5 until I got more confident that he'd play at least half the season. Then he could jump up to tier 4. But that's roughly probably where I'd have him right now. We'll just have to see going forward what news we get with him. So that was my tight end tier list. We went 5 tiers deep. Again, it is a very fluid list. It literally changed as I was filming this video. Next week, we will be doing our wide receiver tier, so that's a big episode. Make sure not to miss it. And then following that, later in the week, we will be doing mock drafts. I'll be doing at least one mock draft video every single week. And then as we get closer, the mock draft videos will drop off, but instead I'll do live streams, mock draft live streams. That's probably I think it's mid-July on my schedule. I have that. So if you enjoy all of that and you want to win your fantasy football leagues, make sure again to like, subscribe, and do all of the YouTube things.